If it takes you hours to update your automations, anytime you make even a little change to your process, here's an example of how designing automations to be modular is going to help with that. Here I have an automation that I created for my client, which triggers whenever an agreement is signed by the client. It does a little bit of setup in her Google Drive to create a folder for the client. Then here we have it branch into two separate paths depending on the type of the client. This is for a financial planner. So depending on whether they are a divorce client or not, she wants to set up separate Google Drive subfolders within that client folder. Here's how it looks in Zapier. As you can see down here, each of these steps to create a folder in Google Drive has to be done individually. You aren't able to bulk create a bunch of folders with one action. You have to do it in separate actions. Now, what that means is in the design, when we want to create 14 subfolders, we would have to create those as separate actions in Zapier. But what I did instead is I designed it to be modular. So down here, I have it call another Zap. So it's making a webhook request to call it, but you can also do it with a sub Zap. But basically, this Zap is the one that it invokes, and it will create the parent subfolder. If it's a divorce client, the parent subfolder is going to be divorce docs. And if it's a financial planning client, it's going to be financial planning. And then within that parent folder, we're going to create this list of subfolders, which it will do in just a looping step in Zapier. So what that looks like in the original Zap that invokes it is just a text list of all of these subfolders, which is a lot easier to update than having to update each of these actions one by one. So there's a few benefits to doing it this way. It's a lot cleaner. So I have just these two actions here instead of a huge long list of actions to create each individual subfolder. And it's also a lot easier to update down the road. If my client wanted to change that list of subfolders, all we have to do is modify this text list, which is a lot easier than modifying each individual action. If we wanted to change things around, it would be a lot easier to just drag and drop this one action than having to drag and drop each of these individual actions. It also gives us the ability to potentially map this list to a direct source. For example, if she wanted to be able to edit this list of subfolders from somewhere a lot more accessible, like a Google Sheet or even an SOP document, Zapier would be able to pull that list directly from the source rather than being hard-coded like this. The other benefit is that now it's very reusable. I have it invoked twice in this one Zap, and let's say she had another type of client that she wanted to add on later. We can add another path down here, and we'd be able to invoke this same exact Zap to create a separate list of subfolders for that type of client, and it would be a lot easier to do than having to duplicate all of these individual actions for the new path. Designing this automation to be modular overall just makes it a lot easier to maintain long term. So making small updates can be really quick instead of taking you hours to do.